Hello and welcome to the Valley. Today I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Red Cross Day, so I am back on the Zooms with Deb Fleming. She is the Executive Director for the Greater Shenandoah Valley chapter of American Red Cross. We're doing a year-long series getting everyone that listens prepared for any kind of a disaster. Big one, little one, medium-sized one, because as I've learned, Deb, disasters come in all shapes and sizes and can happen to anyone and everyone at any given random time.
That is true. And if it weren't for the fact that I know disasters come at any time, I would think talking to you creates disasters, because every time we talk about something, it happens like within a couple of weeks.
I worry that we're jinxing ourselves. I know that's always one of the downsides to doing a show like this is, are we putting something out into the ether that maybe we should just keep quiet about?
Let's hope that's not true and that this preparedness is helping people get ready and really moving us forward.
Our conversation today, I think, is going to do that too, because we're going to talk a little bit about what happens behind the curtain, so to speak. So I don't know how many people readily understand all of the things that have to have already been done on an ongoing basis in order for, if there's a house fire, if there's a flood or a winter storm or whatever happens, for you to be ready immediately in that moment. It's not like you're all sitting in an office waiting for an air horn to go off, that you've got to go do something. There is a lot of preparation that you're doing behind the scenes.
Yes. And just like everybody has to prepare for their own disaster at home, the Red Cross is responding to those disasters. So we have a variety of things that we do behind the scenes. We don't want to send somebody out there without a knowledge of what to do, because that can cause a disaster within a disaster if you have a bunch of people that are out there trying to help and doing all the wrong things. So the Red Cross takes that very seriously, and we want to be that trusted partner that provides care and comfort to people to alleviate that human suffering and not to add to it. So we have a lot that we do. The first thing is our people. 90% of everybody that you're going to see out there are volunteers. So volunteers need to be educated. They need to understand the disaster cycle and how to work with our emergency partners, what to do and what not to do. Our local partnerships with the nonprofit organizations, they're huge in the recovery process. And we need to know who they are so that we can connect with them and refer clients to the proper place so that they can help with their recovery and become more resilient. We have staff that train all of these people. We have relationships with our emergency management directors. We attend LEPC meetings. That's a local emergency planning commission, I believe. We use acronyms in the Red Cross. Sometimes we forget what they mean, but we know why we're there. We have relationships with our first responders, our firefighters. 90% of what we respond to are small disasters. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize is that house fire, we're there. We need to know the EMTs. We need to know the fire departments. We need to know anybody who might have some connection, the police. There's a lot of connection and support that we give. We met with a lot of our commissioners last week and the week before for Red Cross Month. And that is something that was really important, that we have those relationships. So when something happens within their community, that they knew who to call and who to send people to.
That's the other part of this is those of us that say live in Winchester or Frederick County, we think of you as our Red Cross. We may not necessarily have wrapped our heads around the fact that you're not just serving Winchester, Frederick County. You've got a much larger geographical footprint, which means 10 times the meetings, 10 times the relationships, 10 times the planning that has to happen.
Yes, and we have 3 paid staff in our region. This is all done with the volunteers. So we train those volunteers to have government operations, and so that they can go out and build those relationships with our government officials. We have the disaster responders that go out to those single and multifamily fires, that set up shelters. We have those shelter workers feeding people. When you're talking about a flood, you have cleanup to do. We need somebody to deliver those cleanup kits. We need somebody to do the logistics ahead of time, though. They've got to get the cleanup kits and store the cleanup kits and then distribute them properly. Volunteers fill those roles. We have about 30 roles within just the disaster side of people that we have to train and support and provide materials for before a disaster hits, just within your local community, and then to respond to a larger one as well. Some of the other roles that a lot of people don't think of is our information and planning. That is somebody that we talked about last week that looks at all those maps and sees where the flooding might be and the water levels and looks at the weather 14 days ahead. They watch it leaving Africa to come over to the United States to see how much wind is going to be coming. We have feeding people that will either drive our emergency response vehicle and feed out of that or within a shelter. So there's training that goes along with that. We've got to buy those vehicles. We've got to maintain the vehicles. There's so much to do. And I could just go on. Like I said, there's 30 just disaster positions that they all have something, some type of focus and support that they need.
I would imagine too that there are volunteers that come and go. So it's not like you've done this one time and that person is now trained and they're going to be your volunteer in that thing for the next 30 years. You've got to do this over and over and over again.
Constantly, yes. A lot of our training, fortunately, is online, which helps that out a little bit. But then we actually have to have simulations. Right now, we are in the middle of what's called a Thunderbolt exercise, where at any given time within a 14-day period, national headquarters is going to say, hey, you need to set up a mock shelter so that we know that you can do it. So we've got all of our volunteers ready to go to see, are we able to set up 3 shelters at the same time in different areas so that we know that if something larger happens in our communities, that our local volunteers are able to help multiple counties. We have got a lot to prepare for that. And our disaster staff has been really busy making sure that we have everything in place, lined up, and ready to go.
Your volunteer base may change. What you're having to prepare for might also change. How you prepare for a flood today may not be how you did it 10 years ago.
Right. Something that's coming up in the Hagerstown area is they are going to be doing a mock incident of a plane crash. And we need volunteers out there. We need volunteers who act as if they were in the crash. We need their quote unquote family members there. And the Red Cross sets up a family resource center so that we can care for the family members while first responders are helping. And we prepare for that because we need to know. We can't show up there and not know what to do. Those happen every 3 years in each county or each airport. Those are things that we're out there preparing for. And like you said, because the disaster volunteers come at different times and they go, there's always somebody new at that exercise. And they're really great. There's many more exercises, whether it's a train incident, an airplane crash, it could be a nuclear meltdown. There's a variety of things that we do throughout the United States. But all of those things are very, very important so that when we're there, we're helpful.
Okay, so can I just ask, do you live your entire life looking over your shoulder waiting for a disaster to drop in your lap? Because I feel like that's what would happen to me if I were in your job. I would be a hot mess.
It's funny when you are, and I will say this, as the executive director, I don't feel that as much anymore. But I used to get on the national sync calls, which actually they go through every disaster that's happening in the US territories and the United States. You look at a map and you see how many places, and at times the entire United States has red dots all over it. And you're like, oh my gosh, we're a mess. And you go home and you're like, wow, okay, everything's okay right here. And you realize that your world is so small, what you see around you, and it could happen at any moment. So when you are a disaster program manager or disaster program specialist or one of the disaster volunteers, I'm sure you're thinking of it more because you are seeing it, but you do kind of get used to knowing, okay, we're prepared for this if this happens. So there is a little bit of calmness, but I will say when I took this role on, I was told that I had the energy of disaster and I needed to chill out a little bit. So I think it does affect you and you don't realize it because that's the life you lead. I mean, you're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Our staff are always on call. They have an incredible job and a service to the community that you just don't see.
The other thing that I think when we're talking about the planning that goes into things is you and I spend a decent amount of time talking about some of these larger disasters. And you mentioned earlier a smaller disaster, which of course we've both said over and over again that it's never a small disaster when it's happening to you. But that also means that if it is a house fire, there could be 10 of those inside of a 3-day span that are happening across the Shenandoah Valley. So it's not like they're also happening one at a time and it's this one thing that happens and you respond and then move into recovery mode. You could be in different stages of different types of disasters everywhere.
Yes, absolutely. When I was a disaster program manager, the most I got was in a 10-day period. I had 26 disasters, and most of them were single family fires. But we had a mining incident where the mine subsidence, we had flooding, it was just nonstop. And at Christmas morning, we opened up our gifts, and I'm on the phone the entire time saying, okay, kids, let's eat breakfast. You're very well aware that you're the one that's fortunate in that moment, because not only did the individuals go through this, our volunteers are out there on the field helping them during those times, trying to make that day just a little bit better for them. It's a very humbling experience, because everything you think that is the most important thing, you realize that somebody has lost everything. And just being there, it provides so much for that person. But yeah, you have a lot going on. It's not organized. Disaster is not an organized response.
The other thing that it is not is inexpensive. So let's take a break. And when we come back, let's talk a little bit about where the money comes from, where the money goes, how all of the financial side of it plays into being fully prepared for a disaster in our area. Can we do that in the next segment?
Yes, that would be great. Thanks.
We are on the Zooms today with Deb Fleming. She is the executive director for the Greater Shenandoah Valley chapter of American Red Cross. We are getting you prepared one way or another for disasters in this year-long series. We're going to come back and talk a little bit about the value of donations in just a couple of minutes.
This Tuesday, April Davis will change the world. She doesn't know that yet. All she knows is that she went to justserve.org and volunteered an hour of her time. Browsing through dozens of service opportunities in her community, April decided to spend her Tuesday evening serving dinner to mothers and their children at a transitional house. She doesn't know she'll be serving a particular mother and daughter who will be spending their first night in this home. April doesn't know that the hot meal she'll serve is the first this mother and daughter will have had in a week, or that the simple smile she'll offer as she serves them will help them realize that things are going to be all right. Which is why this Tuesday, April Davis will change the world. See the difference you can make. Sign up for service opportunities in your community. Visit justserve.org.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. We are on the Zooms today with Deb Fleming. She is the executive director for the Greater Shenandoah Valley chapter of the American Red Cross. We talked in the first segment about all the planning that they do on the backside. We've spent several months this year and will continue throughout the year to educate everyone who's listening on how they can be prepared. But the best preparation for me, Deb, doesn't mean a whole lot if the organization that's coming to help me in a crisis isn't organized yourself. So it makes me feel better knowing that you guys are planning year round. You're behind the scenes, making the connections, creating the relationships, stockpiling the things that need to happen. But I wonder, since all of that stuff is free to me, like if my house burns down and you show up, you're not charging me for helping me that day. So where does the money come from? Where does it go? How does the financial side of all of this work?
The American Red Cross relies on its donors. So we have individuals, foundations. We need the support of the community to provide these services, because we're not an agency that relies on government funding. We have less than 3%, and most of that goes towards our services to the armed forces, because we are on the bases providing humanitarian services to our military members. So what we need is really donations. And the important thing about that is that when a disaster happens, and it's a big disaster and it's on the news, people's hearts go out, they feel, and we are able to raise funds during that time. But 90% of what we do is not in the media. Most people don't know, your listeners do now, but most people don't know we're there when a fire breaks out, and we're there to console an individual or family and to put them up for the night. So we are reliant on those funds coming in year round, regardless of how large the disaster is.
I know that you get asked this a lot, but I want you to answer it for everyone who's listening today so that maybe you won't get asked this so often. So, when somebody makes a donation to the Greater Shenandoah Valley chapter of the American Red Cross, does that money stay right here in the region that we're donating it to?
Yes, it does. Our region is supported by other Red Cross regions because we do not raise as much money as we spend in our area. And that's one of the beautiful things about the Red Cross is that if we can't cover that cost, they come in and to support us. So you can be assured that the money that you donate to the American Red Cross of the Greater Shenandoah Valley chapter stays in our area and supports the disasters that we have here.
And that's important, I think, for a lot of people. In my role as board chair of United Way, people ask me that a lot when they're donating to a particular cause because we cover so many counties and the city of Winchester here in the Shenandoah Valley. You are very similar in that you've got how many counties?
Yes, we have 11 counties in our chapter, and then our region has 77 counties, but Greater Shenandoah Valley chapter is 11.
And it's important for people to understand. Again, when I say that the services that you provide to the public are free, that doesn't mean that they don't come with a cost. When you're talking about the cleanup kits, whether it's the actual cleanup kit itself or it's the warehouse where you have to store them, whether it's the food that you have to suddenly set up a shelter and you need to have food to be able to feed to the people that are there. If you're doing a shelter where people have to sleep, who's doing that laundry after the fact? There are a lot of moving parts.
Yes, yes. Anywhere from the comfort kits that we provide, shampoo, soap, conditioner, toothpastes, things like that, to the cleanup kits, a shovel, a sponge, broom, mop, disinfectants, all of those have costs. For instance, a cleanup kit for 5 families that cost us $135 to provide that. And those are invaluable to the people who have been in a flood. They're able to get in there and mop out the dirt and the mess from a flood. When you're talking about sheltering, $124 provides the travel, the meals, and a shelter for one day, along with the training for a shelter worker. So there's a lot that goes into this, but something as simple as $20 provides breakfast, lunch, and dinner to somebody, either through us driving our ERV around and providing that food to them, or if they are in one of our shelters. And then one of the preparedness things we do is install smoke alarms. So we need a team of people out there installing those alarms, right? So each alarm, they're 10-year battery alarms. That's really great for the people who get these alarms, but we need to work with our partners and our volunteers to install those alarms in the vehicles to get them there. At just $22, we can install an alarm in somebody's home. There's a lot of really great opportunities out there. And when I talk about the smaller disasters, not to the individual, of course, but on a scale, $670 is what we give a small family immediately when we get on the scene so that they can get a hotel, they can get some clothing and food and some shoes. We've been to fires where people literally just had a blanket on them because they were sleeping and had to escape. So they need shoes just to even go somewhere to get something. And so we provide that immediate assistance to them when we're on scene. $670 allows us to do that.
I love that you are able to break that down because I think sometimes that makes it easier for people to also imagine and then wrap their heads around how to donate. A lot of what I hear as well from United Way is, yeah, but I can only afford to give you $5. What's $5 going to do? And I think when we're talking about something the scale of Red Cross, people are thinking, yeah, but they need hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. And my $150 isn't really going to make a difference. Now people know, oh, actually, it's going to buy how many cleanup kits? Because I've been through a flood and I know what that mess was. And I would really like to be that person for someone else. So I love that you're able to break it out that way because I think it makes it more manageable for donors who want to give but don't know how or think it's not enough.
Yeah, and we could break it down even to a dollar amount. Every dollar counts. And I think people do worry about that. The other way that people can donate is have it come out automatically on a monthly basis where you're not even thinking about it. It's easy. And if it's $5 or $10 a month, that adds up and it makes it a little bit easier for the individual. Our board members donate to the Red Cross as well. That is one thing that we are prideful of, is that all of our board members donate financially to the Red Cross because they believe in the mission. Some of them do that. That's something that we offer just on a monthly basis to make it easier for everybody. And it helps us know too, we can prepare as well financially. those amounts help with the small disasters. And then we have the medium and the large size disasters too, that we need businesses to help us with and foundations. And that's something right now that we're really looking at. Okay, we have these warehouses stocked, ready to go. When the disaster happens, we're going to have to replenish those gifts that we're giving to people. So we need those large donations to help us do that as well.
Do you offer matching programs? We see that a lot sometimes too. In particular, public radio, I know has made matching programs famous. That in the next hour, everything that we get a donation for from an individual is going to be matched by the Ellen Casey Foundation, whatever it is. Do you have the ability to be able to set things like that up for you from a corporate perspective as well?
We do. And actually, we just had one on March 25th. The Ford Philanthropy did a matching gift of to $250,000. And so we were really excited about that. We would love to have a local company do a matching gift, because that is something that really inspires people in our local area to give. Not everybody can do that, but if somebody in our community can provide a matching gift, it doubles what is given. And it's such a beautiful thing. And people are inspired to give because they know their dollar becomes two, their five becomes 10. That impact is so great.
It really could be as simple as, no matter the size of the business, it could be a small construction company with 10 to 15 employees. They could do something with their staff that is a fundraiser. And then the company does that match internally, even. So, where they might have done a fundraiser and raised $500, and then corporate writes a check for another $500, you've just gotten $1,000. And my goodness, the good that that can do.
Yes, yes. And those small companies that do that and bring their employees in to help us, it's huge. It's a huge benefit. If it weren't for the donors and our volunteers, the Red Cross would not exist. I mean, they are in our mission statement. And that is something that every time I just think of each person, no matter whether it's I've gotten $1 last week in the mail and I've gotten a $10 check last week. And I just think about that individual who thought, you know what, this is what I can give, but I'm going to give it. And it really does help. And when you're working as a team together as a business, how much more you can do, that synergy of working together and coming up with a goal and a plan. Another idea that some of our board members do is a dinner, bring your checkbook dinner, where they invite their friends and family to come and say, hey, this is a fundraiser and I'll provide dinner for you. So it's a night out with friends, and they write checks to the Red Cross and then send them in. What a wonderful way of getting together and spending time with other people. You're enjoying the company and you're providing services to people in need.
And the truth of the matter is, you can't go have a nice dinner for less than $100 anymore. So it really
Right.
is a win-win.
Yeah. And I thought about it, was like, oh my goodness, even if the host spends $100 on that dinner, you're spending that out anyway. But now you have 6, 8 friends that are spending it with you. I just love that. I think it's such an easy way that you're not even spending anything more to be able to give. Yeah, there's just so many ways. When you really start to become creative, everybody can make a difference. If those write a check dinners are done by 10 people, it's wonderful.
Right? Is there a mechanism? I assume that there is a mechanism on the website where people can go in and they can make a one-time donation, but they can set up those monthly donations that you mentioned a second ago. They could do all of that online as well, right?
Yes, they can just go to redcross.org and they can sign up as a one-time donor. They can sign up as a multiple-time donor. If they're wanting to give at a larger level, they can contact me and we can talk about that. How would they want to do that? Do they want to do it on a monthly basis? Would they like to do a one-time check? Are they wanting to do this on a regular basis, but maybe just a couple of times a year? I'd be happy to set up a time to meet with them and individually and see what we can do. The other thing is a point of sale business. Talk about where you get massive people, whether you're a gas station or a grocery store. If people just round up those few cents, thousands of dollars can come in from something like that. In this economy, people are going through a hard time. That's an easy way for them to continue to feel like they're giving, because we do know when people give and when they volunteer, they feel better as well. And mentally and emotionally, it's helpful for people. And so that's a way that they can still do that even in these economic times.
And before we go, because you've told me this before, if I go onto your website and I make a donation, it still comes back to you because they know where I am. Is that right? I know
Yes,
that sounds a little creepy, but
yeah, it's a little less creepy than alleyways. But yes, when you put your address in, they know where to send the money to, which region.
I just thought that would be beneficial for people that think, yeah, but if I donate online, how are they going to know who should get credit for it? And they know how to do that.
Yes, yes, they know how to do that and where that should go. And something that as they're donating, some of the other areas that they might not be thinking about, but I would love to mention is that disability integration. People who have particular needs in a shelter, we help them with that as well. Because everyone in our Red Cross shelters are welcome, we make sure that we meet the needs of people. So those donations, if you have a particular need or desire that you want to donate to, knowing that because everybody is welcome in our shelter, we're going to be covering the support of the person that you might be interested in. And again, they can always email me or contact me, and I can help them through that process to know how their funds would be best used for them.
And I will put your contact information and all of the links that we've talked about today in the show notes page at the valleytodaypodcast.com. But thank you. This was a pretty informative conversation. I'm glad we switched gears just a little bit this month.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I really appreciate it, Janet.
I will be back tomorrow with a brand new episode of The Valley Today, just a few minutes after noon. So meet me here then.